Hello and welcome to the Fish Nerds, the show about fish, fishing, and eating fish. I'm Clay Groves, Chief Executive Fish Nerd, licensed fishing guide, best friend to fish, fishy's friend. It is November, National Podcast Posting Month, NAPOD POMO, and we're doing it. New show every single day, the whole month of November. We're just doing little fish in the news segments, and I'm in a hurry today. This is going to be a fast one, and we're going to do it fast because I'm going to visit an aquarium and I'm going to check it out. Have a great time. But we are lucky because our listeners, you have been submitting news stories for us, saving me a whole bunch of hours and hours and hours of work. So today's episode, today's Fish Nerds podcast comes from listener Gerald Orsino from New Jersey with some happy days news. And gosh, I just love it when people call in and actually sing our theme song too. It makes it even more fun for us. If you want to get your voice here on the podcast and do a little fishing news segment for us, get your cell phone out. They've got surprisingly good recorders on them. Push record and tell us a news story. When you email me, clay@fishnerds.com, include some links, pictures, whatever you want, and I will slide them into the show notes. And people will be able to check out the whole story. So let's jump right on in with some fish in the news.
News, fish in the news. Everybody loves their fish in the news.
Hey Clay, this is Gerald Orsino calling from the Garden State, New Jersey, and I have a story for you, a news, fish in the news. This story comes from Inside Hook, and the title is Henry Winkler talks about his greatest obsession, fly fishing. And here's a quote. I didn't know when I was younger how much I was going to love the river. I was super excited to see this because I can't believe the Fonze, first of all, is an Emmy Award-winning actor. Second of all, I remember him for his infamous feat of jumping the shark in Happy Days, and I used to watch Happy Days religiously when I was little. I had a Fonz t-shirt. It was a big deal. He was such a big icon, back in the 70s. So the story reads as this. Winkler, who turned 74 recently, isn't the kind of person you necessarily associate with a sport like fly fishing or any outdoor activity for that matter. He was raised on Manhattan's Upper West Side, didn't have many opportunities to commune with nature as a kid, even though he had spent time with his family at a summer home on Lake Mahopac. But over the past few decades, he has become a devoted angler, regularly jetting off to isolated rivers in Idaho and Montana in search of trout, the only fish he likes to catch and release. Winkler respects the fish so deeply that he won't even eat it, though he does indulge in other types of fish. And here's a quote, I absolutely don't order trout in a restaurant, and I have never taken one out of the river. Another quote, they are beautiful, and I think they are majestic, and they are there next year when I want to go again. For Winkler, the long view has paid off, both in his personal and his professional life. As he prepares to shoot the third season of Barry in March, he is also looking forward to an upcoming fishing trip in Idaho. Unfortunately, he says, it will be only for 6 days. It's the greatest metaphor for life. You've got to take a risk and try and get your fly in the most inaccessible water. You have to take a risk of losing the fly if you want to get something on it. You've got to be very patient. And once you get the fish on, you have to stay calm. Fly fishing centers him, so much so that the lessons he has learned from the activity have become a way of being. A good fly fisherman, Winkler points out, is calm and never rushes. That is one of the things I've learned and then applied to my life, he says. You cannot force the situation. These days, Winkler tries to go fishing at least once annually. He and his wife of 41 years, Stacy, fish on separate boats because Winkler is so serious when it comes to hooking trout. Winkler caught the biggest trout of his angling life this past summer in Wyoming, 12 pounds and 26 inches long. It was thrilling, he says. Despite such a haul, Winkler worries about the fate of his beloved trout as climate change threatens fishing habitats all over the world. On a good day, he says he might catch 30 trout, but years ago that number was in the 70s. I paraphrased most of the article because it was a little awkwardly written, but there's some really great photos of him holding a couple of his biggest catches, and I think this is a really sweet story. You know, he really loves acting, and he said that at 74, he really feels like he's coming into his own as far as his acting skills, and that he never imagined at 27 years old when he was the Fonze that he would be where he is now. So that's my fish in the news story. And a couple of things that I'd like to plug is that I'm a personal trainer. So my Instagram is at Gerald Motivation. That's Jeyl Motivation. I also have a little adventure company called Barefoot Adventures, and it's at BearFoot Adventures Co. So that's both Instagrams. And then I have a 7-year-old nephew who wants to save the world, and his YouTube channel is Adventure Kid #1. He's so awesome. I can't say enough about him. He's 7 years old. He picks up garbage every time we go to a fishing spot, and I just love him. Check out his videos. Feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to share his videos. If anybody wants to talk to him, just get in touch with me. And again, that article was from Inside Hook. Henry Winkler, rocking it out with his trout fishing. And I love the podcast, Clay, and thank you so much for putting it out there. As a new fisher person, it gives me a lot of good information and just makes me more excited about fishing. Thank you. Out.
News, news, fish in the news. Everybody loves their fish in the news.
All right, that was fantastic. And I got to tell you, it is my dream to get Henry Winkler on the podcast. I've tweeted at Henry a few times, no avail. But man, I would love to get the Fonze on the pods, and it'd be so much fun. I haven't tried that hard, but I'll keep working on him, and maybe eventually, before he dies, he'll come on the podcast and be part of what we do. There are other ways you can help the podcast. One of them is by participating in our November calling contest. If you have our contest this month is, what is like the most unethical thing you've ever seen while fishing? So you call the Fish Nerds hotline, 607-378-FISH, and you tell us the most unethical fishy thing you've ever seen. Make it a good story. I'm judging these based on quality of storytelling, humor, or whatever. So it's not a random draw. And you will win Angle King glasswater lead-free lures, some Fish Nerds swags, decals, Fish Nerds hats, beanies, whatever. You get a whole box of just Fish Nerds crap from us, and you'll be so happy just in time for Christmas. And the very first episode in December, we'll have the winner announced. So stay tuned. Until then, Fish Nerds will be gone until tomorrow. Fish Nerds out.